Our May Day organizers, we have Dennis Poseth from the Executive Board of the Chicago Teachers Union and a chairperson on the Human Rights Committee.
Just as a disclaimer, I am here representing myself. I am on the executive board of the C2. I'm not here representing the C2, just so anything I say is my own opinion. Fair, just to put that out there. Clearly, international attacks are happening, whether it's on Cuba, currently on Iran, as took place in Venezuela, require international response. You know, what happens abroad is linked to what is happening here, in the sense that resources are constantly available to, destroy lives, to set up blockades, to not provide the things that people need around the world by this government, and yet the people who live in this country are not given basic services like healthcare, education, etc. Just speaking from the Chicago Public Schools standpoint, we're going to be facing billions of dollars in shortfalls. We anticipate budgets to be released soon, and those will result in massive cuts to many schools across the district. Not to say about the SNAP cuts that people are suffering from right now, or the cuts to Medicaid that will be going into place in 2027 under this and previous administrations, who clearly have no regard for people's basic needs being met. And so if we're going to fight back against these things, we have to look at it internationally, and that's certainly why we have to stand up and oppose the sanctions on Cuba and the threats that this government has made to them. So in terms of what happened here in Chicago, I think many of people here who were not in Cuba, clearly, I would assume were here at the protest. I saw many of you there. I think it was an amazing display of solidarity, not just here in Chicago, but across the country. We brought May Day back to Chicago. It only took 140 years or so, plus or minus. Although the 2006 protest was an amazing, I think, boost to kind of remind us that the power that workers have in the society, and in particular immigrant workers. I mean, people here, I'm sure, are already well educated on the 1886 uprising that was led by immigrant workers, led by socialist anarchists fighting for basic rights, such as an 8-hour day. And so the fact that at least Chicago Public Schools, they made it a day of civic education. They're bringing back the question of what May Day. I remember marching on May 1st with a fellow CTU member. This guy just out of school, is his second year working CPS. He's like, oh, by the way, what happened on May Day 1886? He clearly just had not had the time to research it yet, but it opened up a conversation. The fact that the conversation is happening across the city and across this country is an important step forward. To bring back that holiday that's most often celebrated in many other parts of the world, but not so much here in the city that birthed it, let alone the country that brought it forth. I think some of the actions that took place in other places were certainly sharper than what took place here in Chicago, just anecdotally. If you look at what took place in North Carolina, for example, teachers basically shut down the schools on that Friday through massive workplace actions. And this is a very much not a blue state, not a bastion of left-wing ideas, but teachers took action because their students were under attack by budget cuts from the statewide. And so because they don't have the restrictions, if you will, of officials, whether it's unions or whatever, they just took action on their own and said, we are tired of being subject to the whims of this government, so we're all going to call up sick. And guess what? You can't work without us. I think that's a lesson that's really important to deepen and to continue through the education of May Day, through the actions of May Day, is that nothing in the society happens under capitalism unless workers make it happen. We are the source of all profits. Our labor is what creates the wealth that exists in this world and creates the power of this country to do attacks on Iran, to do the embargo on Cuba, for example. And so I think that ties together, like, what is our role? What can we play as workers in this society to fight against these kinds of attacks is an important thing. I think that the power of workers is something that I think hopefully becomes an ongoing conversation within this city and within our union, and it's an important opportunity. And I think we certainly had some good success in terms of making it a massive civic day of action, but there are also some things to work more on, to learn from. I think we depended a lot on the fact that Mayor Johnson, at the No Kings rally back in October, and again the one that took place in whatever month that was, April, I guess, said, we need to have a general strike. Now, that's great to have a mayor that says we need a general strike. A mayor can't organize a general strike. Workers have to organize a general strike. And I think that's where this providing some space for us to talk about that with our coworkers was an important opportunity. But again, I just want to emphasize that if we're going to liberate ourselves as working class people in this country or anywhere around the world, it has to be through our own action. It can't be from an edict from a government saying, "Oh, I've liberated you," or "I've instructed you to take this day as a day of civic action." It has to be workers themselves talking with each other about what is our power, what is our role in society, how can we leverage the organizing power that we have, and our role in making capitalism move forward to fight back against the attacks that are happening on us. I think it's an unrealized sentiment that I think the fact that May Day took place in Chicago has moved the ball down the court, if you will, in making that more of a commonplace conversation. And hopefully as the months and years go on, we can further deepen that sense that people themselves can liberate themselves, can fight for a better society that's worth living in. I'll shut up with that.